Rohini Ross, so nice to meet you.
Hello, Michael. I've met you a long time ago.
I know, I know. It
Yeah.
was time for us to meet again,
Back in Laconer.
Back in Laconer, yes, but also reviling mentor guide training when I was
Yeah.
finishing March. So
Yeah.
I haven't seen you for a while, but I have to say that you have really impacted my life with your training, and
Thank you.
and I feel so much more authentic now, and much more able to be vulnerable, not only with coaches, but also with strangers and good friends, which
That's beautiful.
is a huge gift. So the thing you're doing with the reviling guide training is an enormous gift to the world, I think.
Hmm.
So thank you for joining me for this introduction call to my school, because you're gonna have a masterclass with
Hmm.
my school, True You Prosperous Coach School.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait. I think it's gonna be in. Do you remember the month? Is it?
I think it's in December.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I remember now.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I loved about the things that you're teaching is the things that when you take your clients to is really being present with life, and also listening to our deeper nature and our inner knowing.
Mm.
And I think that would be a good starting point for this introduction call. But also you do a lot of things. Like I remember you brought in so many other modalities too in the guide training, like
Mm.
breath work. And I just love that you are so interested in so many things at the same time. In addition to that, you are also teaching the principles beneath it all. I guess you teach a lot of things. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah, I thank you, Michael, for acknowledging that focus on presence and opening to the full range of our human experience. And I think that has been a really big learning curve for myself, and is one of the explorations that I love the most, is really supporting people with opening up to being present with the full range of their human experience, so that they can use that as a portal to that formless dimension that's within each one of us, that space of being. And that it is through experience and opening to it, and opening to what feels uncomfortable, what we might be afraid of, like having the capacity to be present to it all, that in my experience allows us to drop into that deeper space of being within ourselves. And that I don't think there's one way to go about doing that. I think we each have to listen to our own wisdom and follow that inner guidance within ourselves. And so when you mention that as part of the guide training, we did things like breath work, we did improv, we really looked at what helps people get beyond their conditioning, what helps people get beyond their defenses. And obviously insight is the way that we do that. But what leads to insight, a walk in the forest can lead to insight. Like so many things allow us to open to that. And so that's why I don't think that we need to limit ourselves, and that we can really listen to what we're called to, and that our commitment really needs to be to our own wisdom and our own inner knowing. So that's sort of why I get to play around in all kinds of different ways, because I'm curious and I see what has been really helpful to me in terms of allowing the conditioned mind to either get more settled or to be able to just identify with it less, even when it's unsettled.
Right. Yeah, I love that. It has helped me a lot when it comes to like when I'm not being clear in what I want to do. And it can be from deciding to plane tickets to travel and how long I'm gonna be in one place. So taking my time to trust that the answers will come to me, and not following in the old conditioning on being safe and book the tickets well in advance, for example, and things like that. But also like listening to myself when it comes to what I need in a moment, if it's rest or if it's like something that could be um, criticized by other people, not going mainstream, right? So my old condition would go mainstream, but it's so much easier now to listen to not to the conditioned mind. And
Yeah,
yeah,
that's wonderful. And what I really hear is the freedom, even if it might feel uncomfortable. I think that can be confusing sometimes to people, that when we listen to our deeper knowing and our wisdom is communicating to us, and that's the yes that's there, but then our conditioning can come in so quickly and it can feel uncomfortable. And then we really have to use our discernment in terms of what is our yes, what's driving the yes, and what's driving the no. Because if we always think we need to not feel uncomfortable in order to say yes to something, that's going to be very limiting. And that sometimes honoring our deepest calling can also be very uncomfortable, not because it's wrong, not because it's off direction, but because the conditioning is so powerful and we're still somewhat gripped by it, and we feel the emotional and the physiological impact of it. But we can still stay true to what we know is the guidance from our wisdom, from the knowing in our heart, from that deeper space within us, and use that inspiration as the power to carry us forward, so that we can really truly live into the expansion and express the beautiful awakening magnificence of who we all are. And the conditioning just starts to soften or fall away or disappear. And that can happen like that at times, or sometimes it's a more gradual journey. But I think learning to really know what is self-honoring, like you're saying, not just to be comfortable with what fits in with the mainstream, but to truly know, like, what is the self-honoring choice is key.
yeah, that's right. Wow, that's beautiful. And also, I'm constantly getting reminded by like deep friends of mine, and they talk about doing things just to do things, and not because you're gonna gain something. So I take myself like doing that sometimes, like I'm doing this to gain this, but what if I did this just to enjoy it and just be in life and for no reason, basically. So a friend of mine, he just said that today, that he doesn't want to build companies to just to be stressed. He want to build companies to have fun along the way. And so he doesn't want to have that pressure on himself with potential partners even coming in. And I just like that, and I think that that's something that you also will bring to the school, that we can rewild our lives in so many different ways, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we can be very serious at times and not realize that we are the ones creating the seriousness. We are the ones creating that internal pressure through misunderstandings in our own consciousness. And that when we're in the flow of life, it's easier, not always comfortable. That's why I had to pause for a second, because it doesn't necessarily feel easier, but when we're really allowing ourselves to be in that flow, there's a knowing that directs us and guides us. It's like I was talking with my elder daughter, she's still living at home, and she's wanting to move out, and she was connected with a group of friends that were all looking for a living situation, but these friends are more urgent about it than she is, and they also have slightly different budget, and there were just all kinds of things that weren't working, and they were proposing living situations where, you know, somebody would have to walk through her room to get to the kitchen, and they were making it out that she was being really difficult, that didn't work for her. And I just said, you know, it just seems like you're trying too hard. Like, it doesn't seem like this is really in the flow. It seems like you're trying to make this happen, and it's not really working out. Like, what would happen if you just allow yourself to take the pressure off and see what shows up in that space? And like, there's a completely different feeling in that experience. But I think for all of us in life, we can get caught up in that urgency, and that, yeah, like in her mind, she was feeling like she was behind and that she should have moved out by now. And I'm like, well, who says? Like, who said that? That's made up. But I think we can all have those inner misunderstandings that have us feel driven to accomplish something because we think we need to in order to feel good enough to measure up. And all of that is a misunderstanding, because who we are, the truth of who we are, has nothing to do with anything that we do in the world.
Yeah.
It can't be diminished. It can't be damaged. It is innate, and that is our true safety. That is our true space of being able to feel peace of mind and happiness and well-being. Like that is there. That is what's real. That is the most real. And the more we stay true to what is most real and most true within us, the living truth within us, the more graceful creation seems to become in the external world. And there can be times where there's huge productivity. There can be times where it's time to go inward and not create, but there's not a demand that it have to look any way. And often ego will think it needs to look a certain way. And like, if, for example, right now I'm sort of going more inward, taking more time. We're not running the guide training this year. I'm doing much more one-on-one coaching work and spending a lot more time reading and writing. And at times my ego like, it's like, there's so much spaciousness. And then it's like, oh, I come back to myself and go, wow, there's so much spaciousness. This is amazing. I love it. And then another time there'll be more inspiration that comes in to be more in the world doing things. But it doesn't have to be coming from our personal willpower or our personal misunderstanding that somehow we need to do that in order to measure up.
Yeah, I love that point, because I see that point often when I when I do my CrossFit training, as you know.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Because I do, what's going on in my mind is that sometimes that I think I need it in order to also become more fit, but also,
right.
And I am already kind of fit, and then I also
I have a feeling you're very fit, but anyway.
Thank you.
I can only see from the neck up, but I imagine you're very fit. I'm gonna ask you to take your shirt off and show me how fit you are in a second.
I'm not gonna do in this interview. That would be crazy. Getting some.
Sorry, I digress. Go ahead.
But also thinking about like my ego mind is saying, like, you know, when I do more more training, I will get more muscles, and then another excuse is that when I show up for training, it's gonna be a lot of beautiful girls there that I can connect with. And then, like, all these things are going on in my mind, and then from taking the decision whether or not gonna go to training today. But if I get that spaciousness that you're talking about, that's when it's much easier to like what do I need right now? Do I need to take a day off from training?
Yeah.
Does things really matter? Or is it that something you're just making up now that it matters? Because if I'm making that up right now, that's gonna create some kind of pressure for me to go. But what I really want is maybe slow down. My body wants to slow down, my mind wants to slow down, and then from that clarity, like I can also wait for a few hours, right? Because there are more group trainings during the evening. So I do that sometimes too. Like now it's like 1 o'clock in the middle of the day, and now I don't feel like it. It was just an example.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not 1 o'clock, is it?
But then if I still feel like that this in 5 hours, you know, then definitely not going. Then I'm definitely gonna have a break today. But the people are listening to this, they might think, but what if I don't if I don't have that open schedule as you have, you know? But most people, they can do it in the evening because they're working from 9 to 5, right? So but it's really
what I hear you what I hear you saying is you're pointing to the capacity that we all have to listen to that inner feedback, and our inner feedback is going to be perfectly aligned for whatever our circumstances are. We don't get feedback based on another circumstance. We get real-time feedback based on what our current situation is, whatever, you know, our schedule might be. And so that's what people can listen to is, and really get a strong reference point for what that is, so that it's not confusing in terms of, oh, is this my inner wisdom? Is this not my inner wisdom? It's like we can all deepen our capacity to recognize what's wisdom and what's not. And sometimes it whispers to us, sometimes it yells at us, but to just be willing to look in that direction. And as you say, sometimes we need to take the time. Sometimes there isn't a clear answer in the moment. And that answer is there isn't an answer in the moment. And can we allow that to be and see what unfolds from there?
That's beautiful. Another thing that I love about what you're teaching is that it's on the same area that we're talking about, is listening to what we are receiving in the moment. That is something I love to bring in to the school as well. You can talk about that if you want to.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about what you're pointing to there.
So, for example, like my old conditioning would be like listening to my what I should be doing right now, instead of listening to what am I actually receiving right now. Am I receiving that I just need to sit on the couch for 3 hours and read a book or something, or so really listen to basically the same thing, right? Listen to what I need.
I think that it can be so invisible to us what is conditioning versus what is really listening to that inner feedback, like you're saying, and making self-honoring choices, because we can just get so comfortable. Like for me, one of my areas of conditioning where I thought that my worth was contingent on my hard work and on certain results. Like, you know, even as a child, I would feel good about myself because I would get good grades in school. Like my self-esteem was attached to getting an A in my class. And because I was capable of doing that, it was never really challenged because I would just get A's and I would work really hard. And that connection looked real to me. And then in college, when I was in my second year of college, I had a mental breakdown and fell apart. And so I wasn't able to do that. And my whole identity was linked to being the straight A student. I didn't have to challenge that. That wasn't challenged until, I was 19, 20 years of age. And I had to, it was challenged in a way where I lost that connection because I didn't get the grades, and I didn't understand that my self-worth wasn't contingent on that. So it was very painful. And I think that was part of what the breakdown was about, feeling like I was worthless, I was no good, because I was connecting my worth with results. And so it was a very painful experience, and not really, it took a while to get any learning, real experiential learning, that my value and worth was not connected to what I did in the world, what I produced in the world, what I created in the world. And I mean, it's still on some level a learning curve for me. I think there's still aspects, strings in there that I'm continuing to let go of. But there's such freedom when we can really get present and notice what's underneath the conditioning, which is the feelings that we don't want to feel, right? I had the habit of working really hard because I didn't want to feel unworthy. I didn't want to feel less than. I didn't want to feel insecure. So I was able to maintain an illusion of being in control, an illusion of being on top of things through that coping mechanism that was very socially acceptable. Nobody, wasn't like I was doing drugs. Nobody challenged me getting A's in school, but it was as much a coping mechanism as drinking, as any other harmful habit. It just took longer for me to fall apart, perhaps, than if I'd chosen another coping mechanism. Maybe not. It wasn't that old, 20. But so it's like, for all of us to be able to give ourselves the opportunity to be aware and to notice what is being communicated to us through our physical feedback, through the emotional feedback, and to see that we have the capacity to make room for that, and that none of it is wrong or bad, unhealthy. There's no emotion that is not for us. We might not like the feeling of all of our emotions, but there's not one emotion that isn't part of that innate health of who we are, that, and it all has wisdom in it. But what happens is we have misunderstandings of what we can handle, and we think we can't handle a certain feeling, or we think we don't want to feel a certain way, or we think that a feeling means something about us. And so then we get unpresent, and we go into whatever the habits are that we use when we go unconscious. And the opportunity is to really see that we don't need to do that to ourselves anymore, that there's another choice that is self-honoring. It may feel uncomfortable, as sometimes change does, but the discomfort is really a coming alive. Just like when our foot goes to sleep and, you get those pins and needles in it, and it can feel really uncomfortable when it starts to come back to life. Sometimes it can feel really uncomfortable to feel feelings that we're not used to feeling. We can get caught up in thinking that tells us they're never going to go away, or that we can't handle it. But the more we lean in and relax into experience, the more we really genuinely see how it moves through us, how it's for us, how there's wisdom in it. And it's through that presence, through that opening, through that connection with ourselves on the psychological level, on the physiological level, in the world of form. In that presence, we open to what is also there, which is intangible and formless and unmeasurable and invisible and mysterious. But we have this experience of form that is the entry point that allows us to know who we are beyond that when we get present to it.
Wow. I just became quiet just by listening to you. This was a gorgeous, lovely introduction to you, Rohini Ross, and I can't wait to see much more of this in a masterclass in December.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to spending more time with you and your group, getting to know them, and now I'm looking forward to being of service.
Thanks so much for showing up today and joining my program.
I'm honored.